So with that, I'd like to introduce tonight's panel. Councilman Alan Warren, Challenger Sondra Betancourt, and Challenger Gregory Jefferson. Ladies and gentlemen, we will begin right now. Oh, one last thing for the audience. They are seated in this order because they drew straws, and this is the way they got what they got. So here we go. Councilman Warren, you get the first question up. What is your plan to stimulate the North Sacramento economy and bring jobs to our community?
Excuse me for my interruption. Could we do the...
Yeah, you would like to do your opening statements, wouldn't you? Yeah. Okay.
Your name is Dave, right?
It is Dave, yeah. So you...
Dave, we'll take him as you call him.
Okay, well, no. You can do your opening statement, sir. Please begin.
All right. Well, first, let me say thank you to everyone for coming out to hear, I think, a very important discussion about the movement that we see happening in this district, and not only the positive and the good things, but also some of the challenges we have. This district is one of the most diverse districts in the entire country, and it's been my honor and my privilege to represent this council district over the last 3 years. I took office in December of 2012, but let me say that for those of you that don't know, I'm born and raised in this community. I went to elementary school, junior high, and high school here. I came back here after college and started a company. And over the years, I have made my life's passion to try to improve the quality for the people that live here in this district. I am a product of a mother and father who had instilled in me hard work, of giving back, and really had an open door policy and taught me some very valuable lessons at a young age. One was that, our country and democracy is really about all the people. And as a leader in this district, we have to understand that we have some differences, but we have many more similarities than we do differences. However, sometimes we let our differences divide us. Over the last 3 years, I've tried to bring factions of all of our communities together and really make this district relive its past glory. When I grew up here as a young man, we could walk the streets in this community, we could play in the parks, we could swim in the creeks, we had grocery stores here, we had places where we could shop, we had families that cared about each other. This community over the last 20 years had taken some major steps back. And my interest in the council and to continue to do the things that I was raised to believe in, I think has really been, it has really given me a real sense of purpose being a councilman. And my last year in office, the last 12 months in office, has really been one of the most gratifying years for me, and I've been able to bring a number of these communities that oftentimes have language barriers separate them, come together to form a nucleus that I believe will be a strong foundation as this community continues to go forward. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman. Sondra, your turn. Ms. Betancourt.
Yes, thank you. I'm Sondra Betancourt. I'm a community leader in the North Sacramento area, District 2, and I am a lifelong resident of Sacramento. I was born and raised in Sacramento, raised primarily in Sacramento County, but right here in North Sacramento is where my family came to do all of our worship, our business. We had grocery shopping that was done here, and it was a thriving and beautiful community. In the last 4 years, the Del Paso Heights area, not just Del Paso Heights, but the entire area in District 2, but with emphasis on Del Paso Heights, has experienced an extraordinary escalation in crime. And unfortunately, much of that crime is violent crime, as many of you know. I look at Del Paso Boulevard, Marysville Boulevard, Arcade Boulevard today, and I'm greatly disturbed to see that businesses have failed, Longtime family businesses have closed and moved away. And rather than thriving businesses in the North Sacramento area, we see business fronts that are boarded shut and have remained boarded shut, not for a month, not for 6 months, but for years. People will come to this area if they feel safe coming here. We have beautiful art galleries, we have nice restaurants, but if people don't feel safe, they won't come, and business will not thrive. So I bring to you a plan to work against crime, to make North Sacramento the thriving and beautiful city that it once was, because the people that live here deserve nothing but the best. Thank you.
Mr. Jefferson.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming tonight. My name is Gregory Jefferson. I was born and raised in Sacramento, California. Lived here all my life. 59 years old, never been on an airplane. I'm about as local as you can get. But I'm here tonight because in 2015, in District 2, there were 13 murders. In 2015, in District 2, there were 199 robberies, according to the Sacramento Police Department. In District 2, in 2015, the average age of the perpetrators were 33 years old. 9 of those 13 murders were committed by firearms. And in 2015, there were upwards of 1,800 students in the Twin River School District that are homeless. And we have no one here who has a voice for them in City Hall. So that is why I'm running for this seat.
Amen.
There is a missing component as well in District 2. We have over 6 community associations. 2 of them I know are nonprofits. None of them operate out of the local community centers.
Wow.
We have not availed ourselves to the millions of dollars in state and federal grants because we have to have an address to put on the application. It does us no good to have a nonprofit if we don't have an address. We cannot begin to address the issues of homelessness, crime, low test scores if the retired folks and the talented folks of District 2 don't have an opportunity to ply their trades in a place that is acceptable to those that are giving out the grants. That is why I'm running for this seat.
Woo!
Quiet, audience, please quiet.
Good luck.
All right. I asked the question before. I will now ask it again. Since I screwed it up. Mr. Jefferson, you get to start this one. What is your plan to stimulate North Sacramento economy to bring jobs to our community?
Like I said, among the problems that I just mentioned, economic development continues to be a problem in District 2. What I know is that if we have union labor on these jobs, on these projects that are popping up in District 2, the labor jobs, the labor unions bring apprenticeship programs that begin at $25 an hour with benefits. You cannot continue, we cannot continue in District 2 to use non-union labor, $8 an hour labor for all these construction projects that are popping up and expect to gain economic development. You have to have a mechanism in place. And so what I would propose as councilperson is that any new construction that takes place in District 2 will not have a contract, will not bring a backhoe, will not bring a tractor, unless they bring the jobs that have the apprenticeships program attached to them in writing up front.
Can I have the question again, please?
Yes, ma'am. What is your plan to stimulate the North Sacramento economy to bring jobs to our community?
Bringing jobs to our community again requires, and I don't disagree with Mr. Jefferson at all, I think he has a good plan. But again, you're not going to bring jobs to the North Sacramento area if people don't feel safe working here. I've spoken with a number of business owners along Del Paso Boulevard in the past few weeks, and they're restaurants that are closing, not enough places to go and have lunch. You know, people don't feel safe going out of their office to have lunch. So we need to work more diligently with community associations, partnering community associations together to help people understand what they need to be doing to have a safe community. My background is in human resource management for over 35 years with the state of California, and I would also pledge to you that I would be working with neighborhood associations to then teach people what they need to know to get the types of jobs that they absolutely want to have, instead of pointing people in a direction where they'll never be able to succeed without the tools that they need to know that they need to have to get there.
Councilman Warren, your turn.
Sure, thank you very much. You know, my two opponents act like the fact that we don't have jobs or grocery stores, that stuff just happened. This stuff has been going on for over 30 years. Where was the voice then? You know? This crime rate that we talk about, the crime rate that we talk about did not just happen. This stuff has been going on year after year after year. I will say the first 2 years that I came into office, the crime rate went down. It was up in 2015, but we go through cycles. Every year since I've been on the council, we've fought and we've increased public safety budget every year. Past year, we opened the Kinney Police Station, and I do agree that crime is a major component throughout our city and District 2, but it did not just start. And I will tell you right now that people are coming to our community. People are offering jobs. We have over 500 new homes being built in this district. We have had a grocery store that just opened with 40 new jobs. And we have, last week, we signed another new grocery store coming to Del Paso Boulevard. A grocery outlet will be announced in the next week that's coming to El Camino and Del Paso Boulevard, and they're bringing 50 additional jobs to this community. So things are happening in this district. But if we continue to talk about what's not getting done, instead of working together to help improve this district, it will take longer. This community is poised for growth. There are a number of wonderful things happening here. Bella Brew opened in our district last year. There's a new restaurant, a new pub and brewery opening in our district. So if you're not paying attention, I can send any of you the information. But let me just tell you, this district is on the move. And so in 3 years, I think we've seen more movement than we saw in the last 20 years.
Thank you, sir. Question number 2. A recent effort by the County of Sacramento to enforce nighttime camping restrictions at the Parkway has created a larger homeless problem in North Sacramento. How would you alleviate the homeless problem in the city of Sacramento, specifically in North Sacramento? Councilman, you're first.
Sure. We have a homeless issue throughout our city, and District 2 is not unlike any of the other districts. There have been people camping along the creeks and the parkways throughout our entire region. We have had major investment and improvement in moving illegal campers throughout our district. I am not one advocating to remove the illegal camping ordinance, but I am one that will advocate we need to find a dignified way for homeless people to get back on their feet. And what that means is that we have to continue to invest in housing for the homeless. We need to provide dignified ways for people that can take themselves off the street and then provide supportive services around them that will help them make their way back into the mainstream of society. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Betancourt.
As long as we're going to talk about what has been done and has been done by whom, there has been quite an effort done in the North Sacramento area with the Sacramento Police Department's impact team. Doing exactly what the councilman indicates should be done has been happening. Individuals with mental illnesses are being worked with the Sacramento Steps Forward nonprofit, as well as the police department and Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. At a recent meeting, Mr. Warren indicated that he favored small homes for the homeless individuals. I don't disagree with that. I believe that there should not ever be a tent city because we've been living with, in effect, a tent city for the last 10 to 15 years. Individuals deserve the right of they deserve the dignity necessary to thrive as human beings. And we do need to come up with a housing solution, but it does not have to happen only in District 2. It needs to be spread through the entire city, not just here.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jefferson.
He had me on the board.
With regard to the homeless issue, I would first like to say,
So that's not what he said.
you cannot say you support the homeless and then be part of the machine that created a $51 million budget proposal and only have $1 million of it go to the homeless and the bulk of it go to buildings and things that are not relative to the homeless issue. You cannot say that you are on board with addressing the homeless issue and then leave when the homeless issue becomes the subject matter on the docket. Our voices on the homeless issue at City Hall were left null and void by the absence of the one that we elected to sit up there on the dais and represent our sentiment on the homeless. So my proposal for the homeless is, first of all, be at the meetings about the homeless and stay there to the end. Secondly, my proposal about the homeless is we have a shared governance of the homeless within District 2. Where you move the resources, that's where the people will go. And so until we come up with a concrete plan to deal with the homeless, we'll share it. Will it be in North Sac 3 months? It'll be in Wood Lake 3 months. It'll be a shared governance because it's a problem for all of District 2, and it shouldn't be NIMBY, not in my backyard, just in one person's backyard. It's a shared governance until we come with a permanent solution.
You know, I'd like to address this about me not being at homeless meetings, and that is completely
Out of order, sir, please.
Well,
Give me a chance and I will ask.
I would like to be able to address.
I will ask the follow-up question, sir. Stand by.
So,
Thank you. We are going to change subjects for the moment. Gang and drug-related issues are on the rise in North Sacramento. What would you do if elected to address the increase in crime in North Sacramento? Mr. Jefferson, you will go first.
Could you restate the question, please?
Sure. Gang and drug-related issues are on the rise in North Sacramento. What would you do if elected to address the increase in crime in North Sacramento?
I believe that there is a direct correlation between lack of opportunity for these perpetrators of these crimes and the crimes that they commit. We need to have access. When I say we, I mean the community associations that have gone through the process and the paperwork to become a 501(c)(3), to make themselves eligible for the state and federal grants, to provide the resources to have programs and education and a way out for these offenders or potential offenders. When you don't have anything to do from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock and you're 13 years old and it's summertime, you're going to find something to do. So what I would do is make sure that the centers are available to the churches, to the nonprofits, to the businesses, to everyone that has an idea, has a program, has a mind and a will to work, that we might get the resources into the community, that we might give these kids a fighting chance.
Thank you. Audience, please. Ms. Betancourt, your turn.
I joined the mayor's task force on gang-related crime activity when he first started that several years ago, and it kind of fell by the wayside. I agree with Mr. Jefferson that there need to be more activities available to individuals. There need to be mentoring programs for youngsters that are designed with individuals who are actually capable of mentoring children so that they don't feel that they have to reach out to gangs to consider them family. There are several programs in the area that deal with assisting parents in this regard, and I believe we need to extend those programs and encourage each and every one of you that are in this audience and your neighbors and your friends to become those mentors, to help our youth stay off the streets, be busy, and to gain employment and lead productive lives.
Councilman Warren.
well, let me just tell you what we have done. You know, I agree. I agree that.
Audience, please.
Yeah, I agree that we need more programs for youth. and we need job opportunities for youth. But these things had left our community some 20 years ago. Little League Baseball, that was so important to me and others when we were growing up, had been defunct for 10 years in our community. Immediately upon being elected, we reestablished Little League Baseball. Now we have over 400 kids playing Little League Baseball.
Audience, please.
We started Grant Junior Pacers basketball. We've started a youth soccer league. Last year, we brought all of these community organizations together to establish Nightlife Turn Right, which is a program that gave young people a place to go in the evening times in the summer. We allocated over $200,000 for that program. We've brought in the last 3 years over $500,000 for youth programs directly to this district. And this year, there's another opportunity to bring as much as $1.5 million additional revenue to help establish new programs for young people that also have job opportunities associated with them. So these issues are not new issues. They didn't just start, but what has happened since I've been in office is we've started to provide the framework to have young people have an opportunity to really have a safe environment to go and play and to learn to be constructive in our community. And I think we're well on our way to helping to solve some of these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Question number 4. What is your position on a proposed tent city or safe ground at 12th and C Street? Councilman, you begin.
I am a advocate for dignified housing for homeless people in our community. Tent cities is not what I would call dignified housing. I think we need to look at the housing solution much like we do any development. It needs to be a well thought out development that is designed so people can't go and point and say that's where all the poor people live or that's where all the homeless people live. And so I've not been an advocate for Tent City. There's been some discussion about it. And let me also state that I am not an advocate that District 2 will be the only place that will house homeless people. But I do believe we need to have our fair share, but it needs to be spread throughout the city. And I would support an idea or an initiative that provide multiple places for homeless shelter throughout our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Betancourt.
Well, I believe that what the councilman has just said is what I said just a few minutes ago, so I'm not going to belabor that point. However, I will say that looking past the city of Sacramento's code issues and so on, you have to remember that city codes are codes. There are state and federal laws that are applicable above what is the city code. And there are many avenues that I'm not sure have been addressed by the city council that would investigate how we can obtain within a variety of neighborhoods homes that are perhaps claimed by the city under eminent domain, have them turned around and become homes that would be homes for individuals to call their own. As long as they are low-income individuals, they would call the home their own. Get a pride of ownership going, and it's just, I believe there hasn't been enough work done to investigate what those possibilities are. Just no tent city, not in my neighborhood, but there are many other avenues that have not been investigated by city council.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jefferson.
The homeless issue is a complex issue, ladies and gentlemen, and I think if we asked took a poll here tonight, everyone in here would have a different opinion or a different position or a different take on what the resolution for the homeless issue, how it could be remedied. The question was specific to a tent city. That tent city, the tiny house, all of these issues have been ballyhooed around. I do believe that in order to make a fair assessment, we would have to continue to work together on a permanent solution. I don't think tonight we have arrived at that. There were a delegation of folks that went to Seattle earlier this year to look and see how it's done in other cities. So before we can go out and say we would absolutely endorse one specific plan, I think we would need to continue to explore all available options and avenues. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 5. The City Council has been very divisive in recent years. If elected, how would you bring about a more cohesive council? Mr. Jefferson, you're first on this
The council has been very divisive in the past couple of years. I think that what I would bring to the die is an effort to bring cohesiveness, to find what common ground we have among the council members, and then work from that. I think that even in the midst of the group that's currently there is some common ground there. It's just that they're stuck on the parts that they disagree on. And sometimes you have to focus on what you do have in common and use that as a basis to build and to grow from. And you'll find that more times than not, we have more things in common than not in common. So I would encourage the council, if I'm elected, to have dialogue with one another and see what commonalities we have, what disagreements we have, and see if we can find a way to bridge those differences. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Betancourt.
I come from a long background of building bridges between groups of individuals that don't agree on things. I have a notable track record of doing that in state service and in the private sector as well through the community organizations that I belong to. I would work with other council representatives, and again, as Greg has said, you need to recognize what those differences are and work toward mending those differences as opposed to running off into your own camp and trying to divide and conquer. So I will, as your council representative, work very closely with the other members of the council to ensure that they understand that District 2 is not the gritty area of Sacramento that the Sacramento Bee calls us. I will be that representative to make sure that this district is not looked upon as a second-class citizen district and bring us up to the forefront with the districts that are getting everything that they want.
Thank you. Councilor.
Sure. Well, first of all, I disagree with your premise. I think our council does get along. This council, if you look at councils past and you compare our council, we've had more unanimous votes. We've approved the biggest projects in the city's history. We're on the precipice of one of the largest hiring sprees in the city's history after the downturn. The police department is hiring, the fire department is hiring. We've allocated money for those departments. And so I disagree that the council is divisive at this point. And I have had a number of issues on the council where we might not have agreed in principle, but we found common ground and were able to close the gap. Let me also say that, in politics, people tend to take things personal. And I suggest you can't do that. You have to focus on the big picture. You have to put the community first and not take things personal. And I think this council has done that.
Thank you, sir. We're not going to shift gears slightly. I'm going to give each of you a chance to ask one of your challengers a question. So, Mr. Warren, you started first, so you get to start first.
Sure.
Who would you like to ask?
Well, I think I'd ask this to Ms. Betancourt, and this question is a question because a lot of people don't understand, but I'd like to ask Ms. Betancourt if she understands, how big the city budget is, and then how much of that budget, and I think it's important for you to understand, how much of that budget is allocated to the police department and the fire department.
Mr. Warren, I'm very well aware of how budgets work in government. That's something you
Please
did
tell
not
us.
bring to the table.
Please tell us.
Please tell us. I'm not going to give you numbers right now, but what I can tell you.
Audience, please.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit if we will. Mr. Warren has the benefit for this answer of being in closed session.
Audience, please. She is allowed to finish. Please, Ms. Betancourt, proceed.
Of being in closed session interviews or meetings to have benefit of what's going on. Mr. Warren has repeatedly said that there have been additional police and fire hires. Police and fire hires are a result of Measure U funding for the most part. which is going to run out in the next year. Mr. Warren repeatedly tells you that they're hiring 100 new police officers. What he doesn't tell you is the attrition rate with Sacramento Police Department and Fire is extraordinarily high. And in order to get those 100 new positions that he brags about openly, you have to wait 18 months to 2 years to get boots on the ground for either one of them. So, you know, to have him sit here and quiz me on my budget knowledge, okay. You know, I don't have it before you, and I'm not going to give you bad numbers because you would go forward and say, oh, she could give me the exact number. I'm not going to give you a number. I will tell you, though, that there has not been enough effort paid to put this community first by this council representative.
We'll go in order. Ms. Betancourt, your chance to ask a question.
Well, I'm going to ask Councilmember Warren a question. Councilmember Warren, in the past 3 years in office, most people have not noticed a lot of progress. Yes, you did get a supermarket at one end of the district. There's another one planned, though, that's coming in under your watch, wherein you used to own the property that's coming on. So I've been watching over the past year or so in developments that are coming up in this area, wherein your company, New Phase Development Company, is building them. How much attention have you been paying to District 2 versus your own projects?
I think that's a wonderful question. Let me say that over the last 25 years, my company has invested heavily in this community because I care about this community. When others have neglected this community, I was here working. The grocery store that's coming is a grocery outlet. It is property that is owned by the city. The developer paid above fair market price for it, has no affiliation with me, but I will tell you, I did put out a call to developers to come in here and bring private capital to help us get the types of things that we did not have. And so, if what you're saying is bringing a grocery store here is bad, or bringing it at the location is bad, then I accept that.
That's an interesting twist. My question
Ms.
was,
Betancourt, he has a chance to finish, Ms. Betancourt. Please, sir.
Yeah. Well, let me just say, you know, I've owned a lot of properties, and I continue to own a lot of properties, and I hope to own some more, and I hope to hire some of these young people that's sitting over here in the audience because nobody else is doing it here. That's right.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Jefferson, your turn.
Well, my question is for Mr. Warren. Now, you said, and I agree, that this campaign is not personal because there will be a June 8th and a June 9th and a June 10th after June 7th, and everyone in this room under the sound of my voice, we will be seeing each other for the will after June 7th. So my question is this: there has been an opportunity for two community associations to come together to do some homegrown community associations where the leaders and the members of the association live in this district. Strawberry Manor Community Association and Del Paso Heights Community Association has put together a proposal along with the help of Richard Dane and Mutual Assistance Network for Strawberry Manor Community Association and Del Paso Heights Community Association to take over the lease of the Robertson Community Center so that we can apply for like that $8.7 million state grant you guys got the other night for sidewalks, that we can get an $8.7 million grant to address the crime and the homelessness and all the other things that are going on in District 2. We've been waiting for 3 months to hear from you. Do you support, or are you going to sign that lease agreement or have those in City Hall sign that lease agreement so that Strawberry Manor and Community and Del Paso Heights can do something unprecedented in District 2 in the last 50 years?
Wait. You guys, listen. This is a good question. Okay, we gotta stop this. And Mr. Jefferson's preface was that we gotta work together after the election. So that's very important. But let me just tell you, and please, when I asked Ms. Betancourt the question, it wasn't to try to embarrass you, but I wanted people to understand what the budget was and how much of that was allocated to public safety. Mr. Jefferson has an excellent question. But let me say to Mr. Jefferson, the lease that the charter school had for Hagenwood has expired, okay?
I thought it started June 30th.
Listen to me, please. It, for all intents and purposes, it has expired. And there was an RFP that went out. Maybe you missed it. But I will say that Strawberry Manors and Mutual Assistance and others have submitted a proposal to take over the Robertson Community Center to do some of the very things you talked about. And so that is well on its way. And that community center, it was built when I was a kid in Del Paso Heights, it should be reverted back to a community center for the people in our community and not used for a public charter school. So Mr. Jefferson's intent, I think, is very well founded. You know, I mean, however, because we're disconnected, we're not following what's going on in the community. But there are tremendous amounts of collaboration going on in the community right now. Now, it is not my job if people don't get along. I try to help bring them together, but ultimately, leaders, you're a leader, Ms. Betancourt's a leader, you guys have to also find a way to work with some of these other leaders. Because these things are going forward and they're happening. They are happening.
All right, thank you. The city manager expects a budget deficit in 2018. Where would you cut expenses to balance the budget? Is it up to you, sir? You get to go.
Well, the city manager is not, what he's saying is Measure U is not passed, then we could have a deficit if property taxes do not continue to rise. It is my belief that property taxes will continue to rise and we will not have a deficit. So, and the city manager is not the authority on the budget. You know, he provides us information, and then we ultimately have to make decisions. But let me say this. There are things that can be done. I chair the Budget and Audit Committee, and over the last several years, we've found millions of dollars in inefficiencies in the budget that have been applied and rolled back. Those are some of the reasons we've been able to do some of the other things in these communities that have been neglected. In addition, one of the biggest issues within politics, city governments throughout this country are some of the pensions and the way that they are structured. And so some of the discussion about potentially, if we have a budget deficit, is for new hires to be viewed different than people that are currently working in the city or currently retired. So you will not impact retirees, pensions, or current city employees, but look at ways that you get a higher contribution for new employees to the city. And that's one of our biggest liabilities in the city is public pensions.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Betancourt.
Well, you're absolutely right. Of course, that's not a city decision, that's a CalPERS decision for most of your employees. Mr. Warren.
I'm happy to address any inaccuracies if you let me.
I'm sure you are. So there is a huge problem with regard to pensions. I think we need to look at the levels of staffing that are in the city of Sacramento right now. We need to be looking at the perhaps disparity in terms of the numbers of managers and supervisors that are over rank and file employees. They're earning a considerably larger salary and greater benefits than the lower levels are, and are they actually necessary? We may be able to do some budget cutting in that regard. We have a fire department that is receiving an incredible pension, and I don't disagree on one hand, because the job they do puts their life at risk every single day. However, there is a huge disparity with other organizations, and I think all of this needs to be looked at during the collective bargaining process. The city has over $2 billion, that's billion with a B, dollars in unfunded debt that we're dealing with. So I would question, have we been doing a good job at this point in time in finding money for things other than building arenas? You know, what about maybe getting some of those millions and millions of dollars to help defer the utility rate increases that the people of this district are incurring.
Mr. Jefferson.
The way I would address the budget shortfall would be to identify things that are nice to have and things that are necessary. And so, in so doing, right now we have, I believe, the reconstruction of the theater, talks of redoing the convention center, the Golden One Arena, the rail yard, and a number of other projects. I don't believe you should add a room to the house if the children have no shoes. So my cuts would probably be in areas where things that are nice to have but not necessary to have. And that would probably be focused on buildings. If we could cut, we can't do everything at one time. We're taxing the people to death. So if 2018 were here tonight and I had to make a budget decision right now tonight, it would probably be in the area of buildings and things of that nature, and not human things, services to people, mental health, homelessness, homeless youth, things like that. Those would get first priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Question number 8. There has been a higher home foreclosure rate in North Sacramento than other parts of the city. What, if anything, could you do as a council member to help struggling homeowners? Mr. Jefferson, you're first.
A higher foreclosure rate. Well, there's a myriad of reasons in District 2. There's a lot of houses being sold in District 2 that have nothing to do with foreclosure. Some of them have to do with property taxes that the homeowner or the inherited children or family members of the homeowner inherited and didn't know the law about property taxes. There are those in our midst that are taking advantage of the fact that folks are behind in their property taxes. So instead of having a town hall meeting to address those issues and show them how to retain and keep their houses, they're waiting on the courthouse steps for those houses to become available and buying them for themselves. So we have to address that issue first. But as it relates to the foreclosure, there are so many programs out there. You see them on TV after every commercial break that deal with people losing or about to lose their houses. And so I would, as councilperson, formulate a team, have a town hall meeting, get the information beforehand, and teach folks, and bring the people in who can teach folks how to refi and how to retain their houses, how to lower their mortgages and stay within their homes and have an inheritance for their family members after they're gone. Thank you.
Mr. Jefferson, thank you. Ms. Betancourt.
I agree with the education side of that, and we saw before the market crashed some years back, banks lending money to individuals who really had no means to repay the money. And homes were being foreclosed, in record numbers. I believe it's important for us to start at a very young age educating our children and adults as to what is going to be affordable to them and what's the best way to do that. And I do believe that town hall meetings are the way to do that. It should be interesting to individuals, how they can acquire a home. And acquiring a home doesn't mean if you have an income of $12,000 a year that you're going to be able to be in a $300,000 home. It means educating people as to what they're going to do. Maybe you're going to have to rent for a while. So I would suggest budget forums and forums that would just educate people as to how they can attain home ownership without risking losing their home foreclosure.
Thank you. Councilman.
Well, I can tell you what we've been doing as a council office when people call our office and they have issues with their lenders. I've personally called the banks, and on multiple occasions we've worked out solutions between the homeowner and the lender. So if they're investment properties, they tend to be more complicated. But if it's a homeowner, In some cases, there have been elderly people. A lot of times we can look at their situation and see if there was lender fraud on occasion. I believe Mr. Jefferson mentioned sometimes there are tax default sales. And the way what we've done to address that is we've called the county, the taxes are collected in the county, so we called the county tax assessor. And on multiple occasions, we've been able to get tax foreclosure and lien sales postponed up to a year to allow that homeowner a chance to get on a payment plan to start to pay off their taxes. Most recently, we've had an elderly woman who called us. She had about $50,000 in taxes and assessments between the city and the county. And we were able to get all of her assessments waived, the penalties and fees. She had to pay the taxes, but the penalty and fee portion, we were able to get them waived. And then she got on the tax plan and was able to, she's actually on the tax plan right now, catching up. We've also had it with businesses that have had loans that they couldn't support. And most recently, there's a business in Del Paso Heights that we've just recently worked out a forbearance agreement between the lender and the owner that allows that business to stay in business in our community. And so we've been very active and engaged in that process. But I do see there's a lot of interest in people coming into our community and buying. And we do need to be aware. And I think that's incumbent upon all of us to try to educate those that are interested in buying a home, including myself, and I'm happy to do so, and we do it all the time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Question number 9. The community has been vocal in opposition to the increase in alcohol permits in North Sacramento. As a council member, how would you work with businesses and the police to solve this problem? You're first, sir.
Sure. You know, alcohol and drugs plague communities like ours. And so what we have done was when we initially got into office, we went to all of the liquor stores in the region and we asked them to go on a voluntary program where they would only sell alcohol at certain hours. And they did that for a period of time. And then we went to no single sales of alcohol as well. Once somebody has a license, then as long as they operate within the framework of that license, there's not much we can do. You know, if people come in there and buy the alcohol and then go do something illegal, it's not that alcohol owners and the licensees a problem for the most part. But what we've asked them to do is be responsible. We've put conditions on licenses, on new applications where they've had to have security, or they've had to sell food if it was not a liquor store. And in some cases, we've asked them to put in security cameras around their businesses. And so we've worked very closely with Captain Risley of the Sacramento Police Department to make sure that we have safeguards as best we can, given the legal framework of ABC and those that license liquor in the city and state of California. So it is an issue. However, we're making progress. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Betancourt.
Let's have that question one more time.
Sure. The community has been vocal in opposition to the increase in alcohol permits in North Sacramento. As a council member, how would you work with businesses and the police to solve this problem?
The first thing I would do is I would never accept a campaign donation from liquor stores that have been problematic in the area. The next thing that I would do is definitely work with the police department to do exactly what the councilman is saying either has been done or should be done. It was done in my area. I know I worked with the police department to have that single sales thing happen in my area, so that didn't come out of the council office. We have way too many liquor stores in the area. We have check cashing places aplenty. We have liquor stores aplenty. We have closed businesses aplenty. I would be working with the planning department regarding permits or potential sales that would indicate whether or not we were going to put such businesses here in North Sacramento. We need to be looking toward wholesome businesses coming into the area to invigorate our community as opposed to dragging us down. I would be working with planning and the council, and I would be working not to issue permits where we have an abundance of potentially harmful businesses coming into our area.
Thank you. Mr. Jefferson.
As a council person, I will continue the work that I'm presently doing as the community association president. When we received the liquor license application, for instance, from Dollar General, we turned that down immediately because there were too many liquor stores already adjacent to the Dollar General. So we turned that down, and it was approved by the alcohol folks. We received a letter that they accepted our refusal for that license. Recently, we had a meeting with the folks on at the store on Grand Avenue near Winters with the police department. We had a meeting about a month ago. They were trying to get a liquor license, and what we told them was, hey, the kids at Grant High School don't have a fast food or place to get food right away. If you had a fast food, a drive-through, or something down at this end, you would sell way more food than you would liquor. So we encourage them to explore other avenues to engage to increase their business. And also, we asked them an important question: where do you live? And they refused to answer that. So we know that this extended amount of alcohol in the community will not affect them because they don't live here. We have to live with the fallout from it. So I would probably encourage them to go in another direction before I would be in favor of granting an additional liquor license.
Thank you. Question number 10. What is your position on indoor marijuana cultivation in the city of Sacramento? Mr. Jefferson, you're first.
Well, the marijuana issue is again a complex issue. I think that the whole marijuana industry needs to be looked at as far as regulations and oversight and overview, and the whole notion of the indoor and outdoor growth need to be looked at and explored. And I kind of had a conversation with somebody the other night. I said, the marijuana is supposed to, the revenues generated from it is supposed to go to fund children who at 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, you would be encouraging not to use this product that pays for their books, for their teachers, for their classrooms. It's kind of like the thing that you're going to tell them not to do is what's funding it. So that's a difficult question to answer tonight.
I agree. Ms. Betancourt.
I am in complete agreement with Greg with regard to the issue of children's programs being funded by marijuana. I think it's a ridiculous notion that would be a good idea. And I would hope that people would genuinely research that before they're voting. There are not programs that are existing programs, as my understanding. I was told by another council person, existing youth programs would not be receiving funding, and it would be coming to newer programs. But I want to step back and take a look at indoor grows. We're talking about a ballot initiative that's coming forward, but we, in my area, have been dealing with indoor grows and outdoor grows for years, to the absolute disdain of my community. We've got houses that are owned by individuals that don't live in our area. They grow thousands of plants in our area. There's very little that can be done about it. So you're saying indoor grows are going to be okay because we're going to generate more tax dollars? I don't think so. And if we're going to do that, let's fund some other programs other than youth programs, and let's pick that tax up to about 25 or 30% to fund other programs, as opposed to saying, oh, we're going to benefit our children by taking drug money to fund programs.
Thank you, Ms. Betancourt. Councilman.
Yes. So at this point, medical marijuana is legal. So they're going to grow marijuana. We don't want marijuana to be grown outdoors where it becomes a public safety issue. Oftentimes there are thefts and issues that happen around cultivation of marijuana outside. So indoors is the best option for growing. I was one of 2 council people who did not support setting up a new fund to support youth organizations with the new marijuana tax, assuming that the marijuana initiative passes. But what I've said is that in our district, we are disproportionately impacted by marijuana. We are also the most heavily used in terms of our police department responding to calls in our district. If the marijuana, and this is a ballot initiative, this is not a council initiative, if the initiative passes, I have been an advocate that the money generated from the tax would come back into the districts that generate the revenue and that have the biggest need for supportive services as it relates to marijuana. And the way this ordinance is designed is that it would be put in industrial areas. And as fate would have it, District 2 and District 6, District 2 and District 6 have the two biggest industrial areas in the city. So now if it's going to come here and we have the biggest impacts already, then it is my position that we should get the lion's share of the taxes that are generated from this marijuana sales, and that's what I'll be fighting for this district. So stay tuned.
Thank you, sir. Audience, please. We're now going to shift gears a little bit. I have several dozen questions from the audience in front of me. I'm trying to call through them to make sure I ask the ones that we haven't already asked. And I have the first one here in front of me. It's actually three parts, but quickly. What is the council's plans for making District 2 beautiful? Specifically the overall landscaping of the community. And interestingly enough, they compare it to Natomas. Why can't we have an appearance like Natomas and surrounding communities? Councilman?
Sure. Well, Natomas is a relatively new community, and District 2 was one of the first communities established in the city of Sacramento. We have our own unique beauty, and I think we should enjoy it and work within what we have. What we have done in the city is we've established a new corporation that is supposed to take districts like District 2 and to go out and help receive state and federal funding to come in and invest back into District 2, into the business corridors, for business stimulation, for things, for infrastructure, things that will spur our local economy. That new organization is called a C Corporation. That is in this current budget that we'll be voting on next month. In addition to that, in the heart of District 2, what I call Del Paso Heights and the Marysville and Grand corridor, we have additionally, we've set aside $1.2 million that will be allocated for things like infrastructure and beautification in District 2. But all of our community, if I can point to just about every part of our district and talk about investments we've made, be it Robla or Del Paso Heights, Hagenwood, Swanson Estates, in Wood Lake, we have new equipment going into the Wood Lake Park there. So District 2 is unique, and I think we should enjoy our uniqueness. It is a beautiful part of the city. In fact, I believe it's the best part of the city of Sacramento. And we just need to tell our own story to the community at large. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Betancourt.
Well, I believe that I've made some progress with regard to starting the beautification of the North Sacramento area, both in the Benelli area, Dixie Ann, Old North Sac, and in Hagenwood. I've conducted meetings on a monthly basis that are with code enforcement officers, solid waste code enforcement. And in those three areas, we have made a dramatic decrease in the illegal dumping and blight in the North Sacramento area. That has begun to expand to the Del Paso Heights Community Association coming on with us. We've been making tremendous progress, and I would continue doing that. I would also be looking for park money under Measure U, and hopefully the extension of Measure U, to ensure that we had individuals that were able to get out there and actually do some maintenance. Minus that, there are plenty of us out here that are able to help, if tending a rose garden or whatever. And we have had the benefit of work crews from probation, from the sheriff's work projects and so on, to come out and take care of overgrown weeds and so on the city streets. $1.2 million won't buy you a sidewalk for a quarter of a block. And it's unfortunate because $1.2 million sounds like a heck of a lot of money. And I'm not berating the fact that that's going to happen, but so we're going to have to seek volunteer services, the services of city and county inmates, or wherever we can to minimize the blight in the area and encourage beauty the way it was. It's coming back.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jefferson.
What I would do to make District 2 beautiful is to continue on what we started in the past, which was we had, if you recall, 2014, we had a Bikes in the Heights event where we took 57 neighborhood kids and we encouraged them to come out, clean up the bikeway and the parkway. They did that for 3 hours. We partnered with the city of Sacramento to provide the trash containers, and they filled up quite a few of those trash containers that day. And after that, we had a short bike safety and a lunch and gave them brand new bikes and helmets and locks to get them out of the house and encourage them to take pride in their community. When we had funding, we also had community residents, we paid them to pick up trash in designated areas of the city. But what I would do going forward as councilperson would be to find resources that we could encourage neighborhood residents to get involved with beautifying the community. There, I went with Kevin, my wife and I went to Kevin McCarty's small business workshop recently in March, and what we found out, there's a myriad of grants and stuff out there to beautify the small business owners' businesses, and so I would be exploring those avenues, bringing that information back into the community so that those small businesses that are struggling to beautify, to stay open, we can come alongside them, make those programs that they are not aware of available to them so that we can help them help themselves to beautify the corridors. So those are some of the things that I would do to beautify District 2. Thank you.
Thank you. Another question from the audience. There's a couple, 3 of these along the same vein, so I'm going to paraphrase this one. As a council member, you regularly rely on the planning commission. What improvements are needed in the planning in District 2? Mr. Jefferson, you're first.
Well, I think going forward, the planning commission, first of all, I want to say it is apparent that the planning commission and a lot of other folks have overlooked District 2. It's like we don't exist. My wife calls us the forgotten community because there's so much growth. If you look over the landscape of the other 8 council districts, there is some measurable amount of growth in the last 4 years, in the last 8 years. There is not any measurable amount of growth in District 2 in the last 8 years or the last 4 years. Specifically, nothing tangible that you could go to, an address, something you could put your hands on, take a picture of. So I would hope that the Planning Commission going forward would put District 2 at the top of their list in terms of investment and involvement and in their plans for the future, for the 21st century, and not so much just in Midtown, downtown, and the riverfront.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Betancourt.
Well, I believe that there are improvements that can be made with the planning department or planning division, great improvements, and one of which is informing the community what's going on. At this point in time, a community leader such as myself, Mr. Jefferson, the Woodlake people in the back of the room will receive a notice from the planning department as to permits that are pending and so on. But most people, unless you have those of us that share those with our community associations, have no idea what's going on in this district, and that's been a great failing on the part of both the planning department as well as the council as a whole. People need to be informed. There needs to be transparency. You need to understand what is going on in your area. And I'm sorry, but this has not been happening for you. Amen. Several years ago in Ben Ali, the planning department came through and noticed every single address in Ben Ali that they were planning to rezone our area. 80% of our homes are tenant occupied. So the tenants knew that there was something coming, but the property owners never did. You need to have a council representative that's going to demand that the notices that are going out, the information that's going out, the concerns, the lifestyle, the quality of life of the people in this area is paid attention to, is respected, and you're totally informed. An informed public is a strong public. A strong public is a public that grows and thrives.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman, sir.
Let me just say, I agree with Sondra. I wish, those kind of comments would have started 20 or 30 years ago. When people had really, started to neglect our community. But let me just say that the planning department does not tell people where to put things. The planning department takes information and applications from others that want to do things, and then they process that information. And so, it's the role of the planning department is to take the laws that govern our city and apply them to the applications that come in. And so, as a city councilman, we have appointees to the council. The person I appointed upon my election was Kim Mack. Kim Mack served almost 3 years. And we have a new planning commissioner coming on within the next couple of weeks. And so the planning commissioners need to be people of substance, in my opinion. They need to be people that will not bend to special interests. They will keep the community first. And they will take all of the information and then apply the rules that they have that govern this city fairly and not be biased. And so the person that is on the planning commission for my appointment is somebody that I have confidence in that can do that.
All right, thank you, sir. I have one last question from the audience, and then we'll go to closing statements. So, I've got several of these along the same lines, so I'm going to paraphrase this one. With the changing demographic of the district, what is your plan to reach these new families and kids, and along that same line regarding new voters?
Very good. Well, as I stated before, we have an extremely diverse community. We have high concentrations of African Americans, Caucasian, Latino, Hmong, Laotian, Russian, Ukrainian. And so what I have done is I've diversified my staff. We speak 4 different languages on my staff. We have strong representations from every community throughout this city, so that we can communicate to all folks in our community in their own language, some of which do not speak English. Some are first-generation District 2 people or Sacramentans. And culturally, I think it's important that we understand that just because we're from a different culture does not mean we cannot communicate and communicate effectively with all of the people in our community. I've had a rich history of relationships across cultural lines. I'm very proud of it. I had a chance, I had made a commitment to some of my friends from the Hmong and Laotian community that I would go back to Laos with them and understand where they come from. First and second generation Hmong and Laotian. So I went to Laos and we spent several weeks there. I've traveled to different parts and places throughout the world and not using 1 penny of city money. And in fact, my salary that I get from the city, I donate back to community organizations in District 2. So my desire is really to help improve this community and to do everything that I can. But as one person, as a council person, I take responsibility, and I don't mind people taking jabs and comments and all of that, because they do it anyway. But when you assume a position of leadership, you have to be able to withstand that and still make the right decisions at the appropriate times. And so I will work with people, whether they like me, whether they support me. It's of no consequence to me. I didn't get into this to make friends. I want to continue to work to build this community and help this community on its way. And I think we're well on our way to doing that. And I think if you talk to the diverse constituents of our community, they will say that, and I think they're going to say it on June 7th as well.
Thank you. Audience, please. Ms. Betancourt.
I think we're going to need to read that again.
Okay. It's basically... It's a new voter in the community who wants to know what basically, what are you going to do about the changing demographics in the district, and what are you going to do to reach out to those folks? And there's one, like I said, there's one about voting, new voter in the district as well. Actually, there's several in both categories. So.
Well, okay, as in our community association, new individuals come into the area and you reach out to them. That's extended considerably as a council representative. You need to be attentive to all areas of your district. The North Sacramento area, many people don't know, has nearly 23 different neighborhoods, some of which are industrial areas. And it's incumbent upon a council representative to be attuned to each and every one of those areas and the different nuances of that area. I'm very pleased, and I will compliment Mr. Warren on his outreach for the demographics of this area as the former statewide bilingual services coordinator. I commend you.
Thank you.
For having diverse staff that is meeting those specific needs for individuals. I will say, though, that it is important to be communicative with all of the neighborhoods, and that has been a shortfalling on your part because most people have never heard from you or heard back from you when they call. So I would be reaching out to community associations, working with them, new voters as individuals attain the age to be able to vote, counseling them to study their ballots carefully. Study what's on the ballot. Don't just say, oh, that one sounds good, and mark the box. Understand who each of the people are that are running for office, what benefits they will bring to you personally, to your area. Study hard. Don't just vote because something sounds too good to be true. Because if it does, it's usually not the right thing.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Jefferson.
I would, to reach out to the changing and address the changing demographics, I would reach out to the community associations, probably to start, and have them reach out to their respective residents that make up that association area. And if we can put together a town hall in a place big enough to hold all of us, and we can talk. I think we're all neighbors. We may not live all on the same streets, but we're all neighbors because we all live in District 2. So and sometimes when you meet someone from Woodlake and you meet someone from El Paso Heights, you find out that there's a lot of common ground. That the issues just in campaigning and canvassing this election cycle, I've come to find out that a lot of problems that are existing in Robla are existing in El Paso Heights. A lot of the issues that are prevalent in Woodlake are existing in North Sac. So I'm finding that out as I'm handing out my walking pieces. And so I would probably encourage the community associations to get together to where we could put together a town hall and we all talk about what we want to do as a district as well as individual community.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jefferson. We are well past our allotted hour. I'm going to offer the close at this point. Mr. Jefferson, you started third in the opening. You get to close first. 30 seconds, please.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all for coming. Thank you for the invitation from the Paso Partnership. It has been a pleasure here to speak before you. I'm glad to hear from you through your questions and through the questions from the moderator. I'm looking forward to the election, and if you elect me as your council representative, I give you my promise that I will be focused on the things that are germane to District 2 first, and as we look at the city overall. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share. Whatever you do, vote on June 7th.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Betancourt, 30 seconds, please.
Thank you. Again, I would like to thank you all for being here too, and ask each and every one of you to understand that I bring to the table, to the City Council, an extensive career in government, something that a lot of elected officials don't have. I have an understanding of government structure as well as customer service skills that extend beyond what we've been experiencing recently. I guarantee you that I understand the problems of this district, and I'm keen to work on solving the problems that you see as bad. I guarantee you that I will be accessible to you, and I will work with you at all times to make your life a better life in District 2. Customer service and respect are what I bring to you. I will fight for you. I will always fight for District 2 to make this the district that it was and can be again. I ask for your vote on June 7th, and I'm available after this meeting for you to ask specific questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman, 30 seconds, please.
Very good. First of all, let me say I want to congratulate, my counterparts here on the panel, because, it takes a lot of courage to run for city council. This is an extremely demanding position. And so when somebody steps up to provide ideas about problems that have plagued communities for centuries or decades or years or even months, it is a very, very challenging proposition. And so I don't do this lightly. I have given my life to this community, my adult life. I came back here in 1990 with an idea to try to make this community a better place. Some of the buildings and the things that Mr. Jefferson and others, have referenced that are not here. Some of the ones that are here, I built them. Okay, some of the people that have worked on some of those projects are here in this room, and others throughout this community. And so, this is not new to me. I care about what happens in this community, and I've cared long before I ran for elective office. It was not. This was not. I didn't aspire to be a politician, but I am a community servant, and I do pride myself on responding to legitimate issues when people call my office. I am about doing things, not about, picking sides or griping and talking about what's not getting done. And my life has been a history of that. And I will say that I will, if elected on June 7th, I will continue to work and fight for this community, and that anybody that wants to go forward, let's do it. If you want to go backwards or you want to talk about things that are not getting done, I'm not the person to talk to. I will tell you that. I want to be about moving District 2 forward, and that is what I'm going to focus on in my second term.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending.